Today I want to tell a little bit about a game that you may not have heard of. It's called The Siblings Trouble Backyard Adventures. It is a game inspired by the Goonies and by other movies of that kind when you have a group of meddling kids that embark on a crazy adventure. They complete quests that are much more difficult than there is any reason to believe that they would be able to complete. But it's all fun and good, and after all, the most dangerous thing for them is still to go back home too late, and then mom realizes that they snuck out to go in some mysterious cave, they save the world, all those terrible things the parents don't want you to do before you are, say, 16. So, The Siblings Trouble is about this kind of movie, and it's about this kind of narrative. It is a very strongly narrative-oriented game, which is how I found it. Although, now I can't remember the intermediate steps. How is it that I learned about this game? Was it on Breaking Geek or somewhere else? But I heard about it, or read about it, as a game that had a lot of story in it. And this is precisely correct. I wasn't misled. In this game, the instructions, all of the encounter cards, you have a lot of encounter cards, event cards, equipment cards. All the cards encourage you to tell a story about them, to incorporate the elements into an ongoing story that the players create as the game goes around the table. So it is about, you found this object, don't just play to get the bonus, but tell us how your character got to own this object and how the character plans to use the object advantageously in the present circumstance. And it's not just a matter of narrative being a layer over the mechanics, it is about narrating stories and creating episodes within the story being one of the mechanics. One of the mechanics is add elements to the story, and through that you gain certain bonuses. It's not like you're gonna get the bonuses as you are to it. Let's make it more fun and let's craft a story about it. So there's a very nice interaction here between the story element and the, we'll call it, mathematical, ludic, gamey element of the game. You may have noticed that this introduction seems pretty long, and you're wondering, okay, when is he gonna open the box and show us the components? I'm not going to. I'm not going to in this game. In this review, I'm not gonna show you the game. You can look at the box, not even the back of the box. Why so? Because, like in other games such as Pandemic Legacy or Time Stories, a lot is about the fun of discovering what is in the box, what is in the cards. So I'm simply not gonna show you anything. I'm gonna tell you how the game works and plays and share ideas about the main concepts and opinions, impressions. If you're disappointed, well, think that probably before the day is over, you will probably read a written review of something, probably listen to a podcast, and those do not have images too. So this is my occasional video review without the video being all that important. Well, you can see my pretty face, but other than that, you're not going to see the game because I want to make sure that I preserve the surprises and fun that you may have from this game. Each player controls one of these meddling kids that form the party that goes on the adventure. The game is cooperative. All characters come in two versions, male and female. Always a nice touch. I like that. It makes the game more inclusive. So you create your party of characters. Each player has a character, and different characters have different abilities. One is more brave, one does something else better. So every character has unique abilities and skills. Then players will form a deck of encounters that represents the main adventure. There is a deck of path cards that may be included in all adventures. So it's a pretty thick deck, and you will take only a small portion of those in any adventure, so huge replay value there. And you will combine this selection of path cards, generic path cards that are to be used in an adventure, with specific cards, with a specific deck for the specific adventure. There's an adventure in which you visit and explore an ancient forest, another one in which you explore caverns, mysterious system of caves, another one you explore a junkyard. So between the fact that those standard cards will be, well, that you have different locations, those locations will appear in different order, and you will have the different mix of path cards each time. There is huge replay value there, huge amount of stories that can be told. Um, Also, in the main deck, you will place a boss card, you will place a card at the bottom, which is the going home, what happens on your way back from the main adventure. There will be another card, this is a big secret. All these cards come from specific decks. There's a deck of big secret cards, a deck of going home cards, etc. etc. You also have a deck of treasures that are used to that represent items that you find along the way that you can use to gain bonuses, etc. etc. The main mechanic is extremely simple. Simply put, the players reveal a card and they will see a nice illustration. Art is very nice. They'll see a very Spartan, very laconic, very economic description of the event that's happening. They will be curious to add details to it to incorporate in the story. Okay, we encountered XYZ. How is it? What kind of XYZ is exactly? How are we going to deal with it? What does that mean to us? And then that usually will present a challenge. There will be a difficulty number, a target number that you have to exceed. Each player has a die. You roll that die. You add bonuses that may come from items or game effects. If you equal or exceed the target number, then you successfully completed the challenge. Otherwise, you failed. In which case, you may have to go back home, or you may ask another player to assist you. Then they roll their die, they add the total, and there are the cases in which multiple players can assist. It's kind of hard to lose the game. The point really is not like a cooperative game like Pandemic, Arkham Horror, which you really want to beat the system. It is really about working together with the components, through the components, to create this fun, campy, entertaining story. So it's not that easy to lose the game. Lose the game if all the players have been sent home at the same time, which may happen if everybody piles up on somebody that had an epic fail and everybody also fails, and then everybody is home at the same time. Otherwise, the player that is home doesn't even skip a turn. What happens is that when it is your turn, you're being sent home by a failed mission, a failed challenge. You don't skip your turn, but you spend your turn explaining how you make your way back, how you explain to your parents where you were, how you lie to them, how you figure out where you're sneaking out of the house, how you make it back. So actually, the punishment is mechanically is a punishment, because there are fewer people on the mission, fewer people that can assist each other, but as for the flow of the game, it's actually fun. It's a side story. It's a secondary plot that can be as entertaining as facing the crazy stuff that happens in the. I keep feeling like calling it the dungeon, because you have a little bit of a dungeon crawl feel, but it's a different theme, and many of the stories, many of the locations that you explore are outdoors, so that doesn't really apply. But it has that feel like we'll see what happens next. That joy of discovery, the fun of seeing what happens next, facing incredibly different and surprising challenges, thanks especially to the combination between path cards and location-based cards. You go through the deck, hoping that not all of your players are sent home at the same time. You go through the deck, face the boss, resolve the final card with other effects as you're going home, wrap up the story, and smile and start reminiscing about the fun adventure that you had. Because this is really what the game is about. This is really the point. It's not a very gamey game. There is more theme than story here by far. Although the mechanics are pretty solid, and they really achieve what they're trying to do, which is to generate events, because you have event cards, encounter cards. Some of those event cards will tell you to roll another die that will generate more events. So there's a special die that does that triggers certain events. So pretty much everything in the game triggers events, and every event you're encouraged to tell it, to describe it. What happens in your turn is not just a series of changes in the game state that you go through, moving a certain quantity up or down, removing a certain advantage, spending a certain token. No, each turn is for you an opportunity to see what happens, what the game throws at you, and take it as a narrative hook and add to the story. And then people will start picking up from other players. So people will start seeing some elements that one player just tossed in there semi-randomly, another player develops it, and then it looked like, aha, there was a smart screenwriter that had given us that clue that looked insignificant but turned out to be a major clue on how to defeat the villain. But of course, it really was insignificant as it came up the first time. It's not really retcon, strictly speaking. It's more like ret consistency. You retroactively create consistency, and it feels like the story had been organically created to start with. It has the feel of a fun romp, but you are part of the making. You're both the author and the audience. So it's a really fun experience, of course, to be played with the right group of people. You know which of your friends would have a blast and will help you have a blast with this game, which one shouldn't even be in the same room. If you're players that like to analyze everything and just want to make sure that you get the best chances to get a 5 on a roll, then these players are definitely gonna not enjoy the game, and what is worse, not let other people enjoy it. It's a cooperative game. It's a game of cooperative storytelling, much more than a game of cooperative strategy. And failing gloriously in a fun way, it's much preferable in this game than making it through the deck, passing all the challenges, and not having a nice, fun story. If you like crazy adventures, if you like the Goonies, which you probably do because everybody does, and if you're a hobby gamer, probably your taste in movies goes towards that little bit of a cult, campy, nerdy stuff. So if you like movies of that type, that kind of adventure, now you have an opportunity to play a game that doesn't have much game in it, but it has a lot of story, a lot of theme, and really is successful with the right people at creating an adventure that you could then write it down as a narrative. The stories that emerge from this game are very strong, very fun, light and humorous. It's an adventurous comedy. It's not mentioned on madness. It also is a great narrative engine, but this is a different story, different feel, different flavor, much lighter, much more casual, but very effective, very effective. I'm glad that I don't even remember through which means and steps I got to learn about siblings trouble. I'm glad I picked up a copy because it was really fun to play. And well, give it a try. I hope that my video will give a little more visibility to this little known game, which is very unique, or I should say, the storytelling games out there is very different from what many people would consider a game. It is much closer, really, to interactive fiction, but it is a fun adventure. It's a fun experience, nevertheless. Siblings Trouble Backyard Adventures. Oh, also, one last note. The components are also really nice, which is important because with a game that has so much theme and story, it's a big plus, if not really a necessity, to have components that are evocative and pleasant to manipulate and to look at. And the components of Siblings Trouble do that. It's a good game. Or a mediocre game with a great story, or an okay game with a great story, but it's a fun experience, what I'm trying to say.